Hello and welcome. Well, today we're going to make our login and sign up form, and it does resize as well. You can see that's what it would look like on a pad or a phone, and there comes the laptop and then finally the desktop computer. So let's get to work on this. First, I'll go to the e-commerce here. We didn't set up this login button, so we might just want to go to the bottom and click join instead. We'll set that up later, that nice login button. Here's our auth page. Now, we won't change anything in app.js quite yet, and our auth page will stay the same as of right now too. But in components, we'll make a new folder, and that folder will be called auth. So this is our auth folder for our components. Inside of auth, we'll make a component called authenticate.js. Oh, and let's make sure that's capital A at the beginning of it. And let's do our basic imports. We'll just import React from React. Make a const called authenticate. It'll be a fat arrow function like so. It will return a div, and that'll just say authenticate. Then we will export default authenticate. Perfect. Now let's bring that into our auth page down here in pages. Go to auth, and auth page we're going to replace with an import we're about to make, and we'll import authenticate from its up one in components in auth authenticate. And let's replace this auth page with authenticate. And run that. Let's see what we're working with now. Okay, so now we have authenticate on the page, so we can work within this component right here and show it on the page. Let's quickly talk about what we're going to build. We're going to have a container, that's the outside of it. So we'll have our auth container on the outside. Now we're only building this section right now. So whatever's holding this is the auth container. We'll have this top options, login or sign up, and then we'll have the inner container right here, which is really the authentication area itself. So we'll have this little container inside of it, the logo. We'll have two text boxes and a button for login. So let's get started on marking that up in our JSX. Here we go. So inside of the return, let's open up some parentheses and get to work inside of there. We'll have a div with a class name, and I'm going to throw you a curveball here. We're not just going to call it auth. We're going to call it auth underscore underscore container, because this isn't really the auth component itself. So it might feel a little strange at first, but I see it done like this pretty often, so it'd be good to get used to. The next thing we'll do is make a div with the class name auth options. So the auth options part will be that login or sign up section. And then inside of there, that means we need to put in the login and sign up. So let's have a div with the class name equal to auth underscore underscore options dash login. And we're going to use a new property. We're going to take an ID here, and the ID will be login. And I'll make that capital. Login. And we will eventually have an on click, but we're going to leave that for right now. So inside of here, just type in login. That's the text that it will show. Now, the next one, even though it's sign up, it's going to look exactly the same. So we're going to still call it login. We'll change this to sign up and this to sign up. Now we have that first piece out of the way. That's the top there. Now, so let's get outside of the auth options right over here. We'll make a new div with a class name, and we're finally using just auth. This is the part of the component that actually takes in the email address and the password. So this is the actual auth area of the component here. So let's go ahead and get to work there. We'll have an image on the top. So IMG, and you know what? Let's go to the top and bring the logo in up top like we did before in other videos, and I think even the last one. So import a logo from, and then we just have to find it. It should be up to in images, and then logo. Great, we got it there. Okay, so IMG, let's bring in that source now. So we'll have src equals just logo, because we brought that in already, and then the alt property. Let's get the alt property here. Alt will equal logo. Just make that self-closing, and we have our image on the page here. And we will want to style that image, and I didn't give it a class name yet. So let's give that one a class name. We'll just call it auth header, because that's what the header will be there. So auth __ header. And now we need to do the markup for the form. So right here, we'll type in form, and we're going to start making a form with the class name equal to auth __ form. And inside of there is where we'll do our inputs and our button, which will also be in input. So the first input will have a class name that will be the auth __ form -- input. It will have a type equal to text. And then the placeholder, which is what will be written there, let's set that equal to email, because we want them to put an email in here. And then we can make it self-closing and move on to the next input. The next input will have a class name equal to auth __ form -- input again. And the type here will be password. Oop, I didn't set an equal there, now password. And the placeholder for that one will also be password. No, we'll do that undercase since we did the email undercase, password. And we can self-close that one as well. Now finally, we need the button on the bottom, and we'll also do that with an input. So input class name equals auth form submit. So auth __ form -- submit. A type will equal submit, and the value will equal, let's just say for now, we'll say submit for now, but I want this to change between login and sign up, and we'll be able to do that with React hooks in a moment. So that's everything that I think we need to make that part of the component. It's a whole bunch on there, and it should look real bad. It does. Login, sign up. We have our big logo. There's our email, password, and submit button. So we have a lot of styling to do here, and let's get started on it by going to SCSS right down here. In SCSS, we're going to make auth _auth.scss. First, import your variables. Import /variables into here. And let's bring in the first thing from auth. Well, actually, let's just write .auth, because everything will be inside of there. So now we have our first piece of this file. I will save it up, and then I'll bring it into main. Make sure you do your semicolons. They do not let you get away with anything here. Then we'll go to main, and we'll bring in that auth component now. So at import /auth. Perfect. Oh, that didn't work exactly how I wanted it to. One more time. There we go, auth. Now it's in, I'm going to run the SCSS command. So yarn run SCSS, and we're on, we save it, and we should be good to go now. Let's do some work in auth.scss. First of all, we're going to have a display of flex. We'll have a flex direction of column. And let's take a look now. Looks exactly the same, except right here, I didn't think these were lined up over each other before. They might have been. Next, let's set a height of, let's do 24 rem and a width of 20. Okay, now we're starting to get a component here. It's at least viewable all together like this, and the logo isn't massive anymore, so that helps quite a bit. Now let's put an outline around this. Actually, let's do a margin first. I want to get it to the center so we could see the outline. So let's do a margin, get it off the sides. We'll have a margin of 1.4 rem, and then we want auto on the left and the right. So let's do auto right. And we'll do 3 rem from the bottom, and then 1.4, oh no, auto again for the left. And here we are in the middle with this part. And we'll be able to get to the middle with these guys too pretty simply by going into their selector, but we're still working over here on this. So we do want our outline. Let's do an outline of 2 pixels, solid, and the color we'll pick is an RGBA. Inside of there, we're just going to write our color -slate-dark. And comma 2.2 for the alpha. And now we should have an outline around it. We do. The outline looks pretty good. I want to get some separation between this and the outline, so I'm going to have an outline offset. Now check out what the outline offset does. So all I'll do here is just write in 1 rem, which should move it 10 pixels away from everything. So there's our outline offset. I think that looks pretty good. Well, let's get our login and sign up in order now. So inside of auth, we'll write end __ container. So that's what's holding everything here. Our container will have a display of flex, and that's going to put these two on top of each other. And actually, that's not exactly what it does. It's going to put it next to the logo. See how they're on the same line? We're not going to want that. So we'll need to change that with the flex direction. And that'll be column. Great, now you can see the separation. This is above this. That's what we wanted to do with that. We will do a justify content. We shouldn't get much movement quite yet with that. We'll do that to the center. And margin top 0.7 rem. Now this kind of just pushes it off the top a little bit, so it's not on that line, on that shadow there. And let's give it a height of 100% of whatever's holding it. Okay, good. Now, before I do anything with the login and sign up, really, I think we should finish this so we know where to place this so it looks good, because we have a bit more to do inside of here. So let's head back in and do a little bit more outside of the container. We'll do the end __ header. Now that's the image that we did. There we'll do a width of 20 rem, and let's take a look at our header now. Okay, that's there. It looks like it might be a little low, but let's not worry about that quite yet. We'll move on to the form element, and that's all of this. These 3 pieces here. Let's go into the end form. End __ form. Now, inside of the form, we'll have a display again of flex. We will have a flex direction of column, so we want them on top of each other. Let's do a height of the entire container, 100%, and a justify content of space between, so we can get them as far away from each other as possible. All right, now we're looking at something here. I want to style these inputs to be a little bit taller and have a bit of a roundedness to their edges here. So let's get to work on the inputs, and of course we could style them both at the same time, which is really great because we gave them the same name. So end -- input. Now in our input we will have a height of 3 rem. We will have a border. That'll be 1 pixel solid. And then give it an RGBA. We're going to give it that color slate again. Oh, we have it right here. Great. Color slate, but put that at 0.4. Want a little bit darker. And let's take a look at that. Yeah, that is the color slate in there now. Well, you can not at that point. That's the outline. We'll get rid of that in a moment. That's the color slate on the outside. Now let's round it. So we'll do a border, radius, and 10 rem. Cool. Now that's starting to look very good. I'm going to put a different background color. So the background color inside of these should be a little bit different. And I'm going to do an RGBA, and it'll be color -gray light we'll use, and let's do that at 0.5. Yeah, we could see the difference in there. We have a little bit of a darker gray on the inside. You might even be able to do that at a higher one. Let's do 0.9. Yeah, you can really see the difference there, and you could change this for your liking. Let's get rid of this outline. We'll get rid of the outline first, and then we're going to do a z index, make sure this is above everything else. So the outline, just outline, that's going to be none. Good, now when we click in there, we have no outline at all. But let's just quickly throw in that z index, and then we need to give some sort of feedback. I'll do a z index of 100 here. Now, anything with a lower z index will be under these inputs. First, let's move the placeholder over a bit. So end placeholder. Gave me 3 of those colons there. So end placeholder, we're just going to put some padding left on it to move it over. And let's do 1.4 rem. There we go. Now our placeholder has moved from right on the edge to right here where it looks a lot better. Our placeholder is where that cursor that's still blinking, that's where that used to be. Now let's give some feedback on focus. So it'll be another end here. So end focus. And inside of there, do a border. Now our border here will be 2 pixel. It'll be solid. And we're going to use that blue color. So color dash blue light, we called it. Good. Let's see what that looks like. There we are. So when it's focused, there's blue around it for both of them. And now we're going to need to get rid of the placeholder at that point. So we'll just change it to be transparent. So we have our focus. So let's do focus and placeholder. So this is another way of doing this, and you can kind of put them together. So focus placeholder will be color and then transparent. Cool. All right. So when we are focused, the email goes away, and that's what we're looking for. But we still have the problem that our cursor is all the way over here. We don't want to start typing over there. So let's go to our focus again. We'll change that. So in focus, just put a padding left, 1.4 rem, just like the placeholder. And here we are. Okay, that looks good now. Now we have to do this submit button on the bottom here. We need to make that look a lot nicer. All of our other buttons really look good. So let's go and work on the submit button, which will be, so the submit button, that's going to be within the form. So let's see where the form is closing. That's closing right there. So here's where we'll put our end __ submit. We'll have a height of 3 rem and a font size of 1.4 rem. Let's take a look at what we just did. Okay, there's our submit button. It doesn't seem to be getting changed. Oh, because I put underscores. This should be dash dash. There we go. Now we're at the 4 rem. Perfect. Next, let's do our border. So we'll have a border. And the border will be a 1 pixel solid RGBA, and inside of RGBA will be that color slate again. Color slate dark at 0.4. See. Oh, wow, that was a mistake there. There we go. So that's our border now. Okay, we have that color slate around it. And we'll actually be able to see that a lot better when we do a border radius of 10 rem. There's our big change. So we have the curve there, and we have our slate outline on the outside. Let's change the color of the text first. So the color will be color dash gray dash light. Then our background color will change to our blue. So that is color dash blue light. Okay, now we're looking like a button here, starting to look very, very nice. Let's change our cursor to a pointer. And the Z index of this will be at 100. Since it's a button, we want it to be pretty high. So now the cursor goes to a pointer here, and it does look good. I'm not sure about this outline if I want it or not, but we can make that decision in a bit. Let's do the hover effects now. So on the hover, we want everything to kind of change. We want it to go opposite colors. So and hover, and let's do our opposite colors. So right now we have color and background like so. And we'll just change them by taking a color blue light here, cutting it, pasting it here, and then taking the color gray light, cutting it, and pasting it here. And let's see that. Oh, I see. Okay. Yeah, so the border was necessary so that you could see it, but let's do a blue border because I think that'll look a lot nicer here. Let's do a nice blue border. So we'll take the same thing that we have right here, the border property, we'll paste it into hover. I'm going to get rid of all the RGBA. I don't want that. I just want to have the color dash blue light. Let's take a look at that now. That looks better, but submit looks a little weak like this. Let's give it some font weight. So inside of submit, maybe under font size, font weight will be 800. So nice and bold now. That looks good, and it looks good there too. Okay, cool. I don't think we need this border while it's blue. I think it's very visible, or we could just change it to the blue border that we have here. Let's just do that for now. I'll grab this, and I'll paste it into here, and then we don't really need you. Let's make sure this still works right. Yeah, that looks good to me. Let's do a quick transition on that as well. That's going a little fast. So transition. That'll be all at 0.4 seconds. There we go. Okay, we have a very good button on here as well. So we have our email, password, we have a button. Now, this looks like it's a little out of where it should be. It doesn't look like it's really centered. We'll have to do some work on that. So let's head into our header. And inside of our header, we'll do a few more things. So we're going to do a transform. And we're going to transform a couple properties because it looks too small to me. This looks too small of a logo, and it does need to be moved upward a bit. So let's first translate it upward a bit. So how about translate Y, and we'll do negative 0.7 rem, which is 7 pixels. And then I want to also scale it up. So we're going to scale just at 1.8. So now it's much bigger and it's up a little bit higher. And you could obsess about this, seeing if you want to move this up a little bit, this down a little bit to make it look perfect. And we will do a few more improvements on it before we call it a component, but it does look really good the way it is right now. Now we did a button here, and I want to get this out of the way so I don't forget to do it. Where's our button? Submit. I'm going to do that WebKit appearance thing again. So WebKit appearance. And that will be none. And we do have a circle to it, so we don't have to worry about the border radius. We are defining a border radius. Now, we do have those options still to do. That's outside of everything. It's really just in the auth component, so I'll just put it right here. How about end underscore underscore options? And here's where we'll do that work. We'll do a display of flex. And that should now move them next to each other. Perfect. That's what we're looking for. Let's align items to the center, and let's justify the content to the center. So we know it's absolutely centered up and down and left and right. We could be comfortable with that. Next, let's do a font size, and that will be 1.6 rem. Okay, now it's a bit bigger and looking good. Let's do a font weight and really make it bold at 800. And a Z index as well here. We'll do the Z index of 100, just like the button. So this stays on top. This is another button, really. And a color of color gray dark. So color dash gray dash dark. Cool, that looks pretty good already. So we need to move them off of each other, and we'll do that by actually going into the buttons themselves here. So inside of options, we'll write n dash dash login. So n dash dash login, and we can have a margin. So we'll just use the two margin properties, 0 up and down, 2.5 rem left and right. And that isn't working. I might have named it wrong. Let me take a look. So that's right on top. Yep, option. That should be options. Options. There we go. Now we have the separation we're looking for. Let's change that cursor to a pointer. Very cool. And now on hover, I want to change the color just a little bit. So here's how we're going to do that. We'll do an end hover. Inside of there, we'll just change the color, but we'll use an RGBA. And inside of there, do the color dash blue light. And then comma 2.5. So when, let me explain this real quick. When one of these is the option, it's going to be the actual color blue light, the one that's down here that I can't touch, that color blue. So this is going to be like halfway there. So while you're over it, it'll say, hey, click me to kind of make me fully blue. It's just going to give you a little feedback saying, if you click me, I become the option. That's the idea of what we just did. Let's make a clicked class just because of that. So outside of login, but instead of options, we'll do an end dash dash clicked. And the clicked class will have a color of color blue light. So let's just type that in real quick. Color blue dash blue light. Okay, now let's put that on one of them. So inside of authenticate, we have our login, and now we're going to have our clicked. We'll include two classes here with a space in between them, and then clicked, and save that. And here we are. So that's what it's going to look like as normal. And now when we go over it, it seems like we click this one. And we'll be changing these classes dynamically from when login is the option and when sign up is the option. Great job on this one. This really is looking good. We're going to put a photo to the left of it, and it will sit on the right of the screen. So it looks like a composition for the whole page on the next lesson. So follow me over to there and let's get that out of the way so we can move on to a few other things. Thanks for being with me on this one, and I'll see you on the next one.